We've had a lot of conversation today, and we all agreed that we need infrastructure. On both sides of the aisle, we've had a good conversation, and I've said before, a road is not a Democrat or Republican road, a bridge is not a Democrat or Republican bridge, nor a water line or a sewer line. So I rise to address the build infrastructure in this country and start getting America back to work. Earlier this week, I attended a ribbon cutting at the Bluestone Dam in beautiful Hinton, West Virginia. When they started to work on that dam, I was a governor at that time of our great state of West Virginia, and I was sitting in my office, and I asked the Colonel of the Corps, I said, explain to me what the problem could be. And he said, well, maybe the bedrock, and there might be some possibilities with unusual flooding that we could lose that dam, breach that dam. I said, what would that mean? He said, well, think of it this way, Governor. Where we're sitting in your office in the Capitol in Charleston, West Virginia, we'd be underwater right now. So it brought it to reality to me, the extent of what we were dealing with and the billions and billions of dollars of downstream costs that we would incur. So we decided that we had to fix that with the help of our federal government. We started working on that way back in 2002, and we're going into our third phase of that project. Roads and bridges are in terrible condition all over the country. And in every part of everybody's state. Every member of the House and every member of the Senate has a road or a bridge. All 535 of us, Republicans and Democrats alike, have a road or a bridge in our area, or a water line or a sewer line that needs repaired. As you in Delaware had noted, with the work that you did for all the good people of Delaware, there was still an awful lot of repair that was needed. I believe in infrastructure, and our economy can't grow. In West Virginia, we say our economy can't grow if people can't go. And with that, you've got to be able to be mobile. We also say that you have to drive to survive in West Virginia because we're one of the most rural states in the nation. Our people drive as far, if not further, than most states do for their jobs. And with that, we've got to make sure they have the ability to get to those good jobs and be able to provide for their family. I've said before, and it's been heard on the floor here for the last few hours, that infrastructure is not a Democrat idea or a Republican idea. It's a common sense idea. If you think in history, 2007, the governors at that time, we met in Philadelphia, knowing that the economy was slowing down. What can we do? We look back in history and we saw that President Roosevelt in the 30s basically invested in infrastructure. We had the WPA projects, which we see today. A lot of us have used the projects and still are. Tremendous value was returned to this country and the infrastructure of this country through those hardworking people at that time that just needed a helping hand. President Eisenhower in the 50s, after the Korean War, the economy needed jump-started, and you saw the interstate system being built for a very mobile society coming off of the wars. And we can see that we're still using that same infrastructure that was put in place then. This is a bipartisan because building infrastructure really is bipartisan. It solves two problems. It fixes our crumbling roads and bridges, and it creates much-needed American jobs. Of all the people in my state applying for unemployment, and it might be true in most every state, construction workers are the biggest group of unemployed people today, with the most skill sets in America. Almost 20% unemployment in the construction trades. Now that's unacceptable in this great country when we have repairs being needed everywhere. We're going to vote, I think, on two proposals today. And I know one just was put on in quick order. Another one that we're going to be voting on. One's a Democratic measure, which is our Rebuild America Jobs Act. Another one is a Republican measure that funds transportation, and it reins in the EPA, which you know I've been trying to make sure that there's common sense approach to how we balance the economy and the environment. In West Virginia, I think that we can do it as well, if not better than most, because we're dealing with those types of challenges. I believe that both of these bills will help kickstart the economy and create American jobs. I really do. And you all know we need that. I will vote for both of them. One's a Democrat proposal, one's a Republican proposal. But I do believe that I was sent here as a West Virginian to help my state. Not because they're bad ideas or wrong ideas that they're probably going to fail. They both have good merits to them. But as our good friend from Alabama just said, it's politics of the order. It's what we're dealing with. And we'll find reasons probably why we can't. I know that on our jobs bill with $60 billion, $50 billion, I think you spoke so eloquently on it earlier, $10 billion infrastructure bank. I know what infrastructure bank does in my state. I have $2 billion of needs. We have a $300 million revolving account, the same as what we're talking about here, that's helped us tremendously. But everybody comes to the table. We're able to bridge some financing and put projects together that we never could have done. And it's tremendously needed. So with that being said, it probably won't pass because our dear friends on the other side of the aisle, our Republican colleagues and our friends over in the Republican Party are going to say, well, it's a 0.7% tax on incomes over $1 million. 0.7%. I can vote for that. I can vote for that. I support that. But I also recognize that that's a problem for them. So in recognizing that, I'm willing to reach out and look for other ways to pay for this. I think that's the spirit we should be working in. Is there offsets or credits? We've all voted for, I think 73 of us voted bipartisan for ethanol credit. Isn't that something that we could work on? How about the money that we're spending in Afghanistan and Iraq and rebuilding those nations and infrastructure we're spending there? I've said this before. You help us build a new bridge in West Virginia, we won't blow it up. You help us build a new school, and I guarantee we won't burn it down. And we're so proud to say that the good people all over this country helped us in West Virginia, and we like to help other people in other states. We'll work together. That's what we should be doing, rebuilding America. So that's what I've asked everyone. Come together. Let's make sure that infrastructure, the need that we have all over our great country, is the first and foremost thing that we should be working together on. Because we do agree as Democrats and Republicans, and as Americans, we need it. And that is something I think we can come together on. Let me turn now to the Republican bill that will be coming up, which I've been notified a few hours ago. This bill isn't perfect either. 2-year extension of transportation spending doesn't give states the certainty they need. We've usually had a 6-year authorization, and I know when I was in West Virginia, we did 6 years. We did our 6-year planning of our roads in our state based on the federal bill, the authorization of the federal highways bill. Now, with only 2 years, it's hard to get any project completed. Sometimes it's hard to even get it on the drawing board. With that being said, I am a strong supporter of reining in the EPA, which this bill does, and I believe that we have to set our transportation priorities. Unfortunately, Washington and all of us here seem to become so dysfunctional that politics, whether it's the party politics or the personal politics, is put before the good of the country. This has got to stop. I heard one of our good senators from Arizona this morning saying we're down to 9%. If it wasn't for our staff and our family, don't know if we'd be within the margin of error. And with that being said, we've got to come together. We've had disagreements throughout the history of this great country, and we've come together many times on very difficult. This is one that I think it will challenge all of us to come together as Americans. People of West Virginia didn't send me here to Washington to put the blame game or play the blame game. I've said many times I've never fixed a problem by blaming somebody else for it. I fixed a problem by identifying that we had a problem and then tried to bring all sides together to fix it. And that's what we need more of here in Washington. I don't think any of us were sent here to blame each other. I think we were sent here to work together. So again, I'm going to urge all my colleagues and friends on both sides of the aisle to focus on the next generation. And we see them every week come here, our young pages. You are our next generation. We need to be making votes for you, not our next election, which is in 2012. That election is going to come and go. But if we don't give you the opportunity to have the building tools you need to build the foundation that you can be the greatest next generation this country's ever seen, then I don't know what we're going to say for the future of this country. I'm, for one, not going to vote along those lines to where it's going to be based on what's good for me, based on what's good for the party I belong to, but strictly based on what's good for America and this next generation.